Well, Jamey Johnson, welcome to Biscuits and Jam.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's great to have you here. It's a real honor to have you on the show. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and nice to see you sort of in person over Zoom. Where am I reaching you right now?
I'm in Nashville.
And this is at your office there?
It's kind of I call it the war room.
Yeah.
Anytime I need to study something, it's in here, but it's not an office in the traditional sense. It looks more like a conference room or a library.
Yeah.
But this is where I do majority of my work, if it's in books or aviation or anything else like that.
This is the Get Stuff Done room.
Yeah.
Well, so how long you been in Nashville?
Oh, not long. I moved to town January the 1st, 2000.
That's a pretty good run, though.
Yeah, that's about half my life.
Yeah. Well, Jamey, you've had a big year. You turned 50 in July, I believe.
Yeah. Finally. It's like breaking a tape in a marathon.
Yeah. And you got married back in May. How's 2025 treating you so far?
Oh, it's been a blast. Oh, and I'm working all that I want to and doing plenty of shows, doing plenty of co-writing and recording. So it's been a blessing for me this year for sure.
You've got a beautiful wife now named Brittany, who's an attorney, right? And y'all got married up, I think, in Franklin back in the spring. Tell me a little bit about your wedding day.
Well, they say it's good luck if it rains on your wedding. We had a hail-nado. It was hail the size of softballs and bigger, and there were tornadoes in the area. So everybody's phones are going off with the weather alerts and everything else. And I've got everybody I love all under one roof right here in this rock quarry. And so it was still a great day. You know, I think everybody left there had a great time. We got to hear Ernest sing, and I'm trying to remember the name of the band. Do you remember the name of the band we hired for our wedding?
Party on the Moon.
Party on the Moon. They were fantastic. I can't give them enough props. They did such a wonderful job.
And y'all got married in a rock quarry. Tell me about that. Tell me about the location.
I've played that quarry several times, and always had a great time every time we've been down there. And I didn't think about it until I called Nancy Jones and told her we needed some help finding the right place. And Nancy said, "Well, what about the rock quarry in Franklin?" And I said, "Oh, well, I think
we can have
that's
a wedding
great
there."
spot.
Yeah.
So we called them up and booked the place and had a great time. It was a good spot, even if it was in the path of a tornado and all that hail.
Well, that's just got to be an extra dose of good luck, I guess.
Yeah, it has been so far.
Well, and then Jamey, you had a 50th birthday bash at the Grand Ole Opry, and that looked like a lot of fun.
That's been like the birthday that just has no end. I think I must have had like 5-6 different celebrations that day, whether it was the Opry or some friend's house or at the studio. Everywhere I went that day, there was another cake coming out, and I think I ate 10 pounds of birthday cake that day.
Well, you deserve it, right? I mean, come on, you broke through the tape, that 50-year-old tape, and that's a big one.
But now I got to run. I got to run off all that icing.
Well, you had, I think, Megan Maroney sang, right? And Lucas Nelson and Randy Houser and a bunch of folks. Was there a particular highlight of that night for you?
I think the whole thing was, it was just one thing after another, one song after another. So many people that I love in one spot. We had had the Down Home Boys, my dad's band, there to help us celebrate.
Well, that's kind of special.
That's the band that I learned how to sing and play guitar with. Didn't have a name back then, unless they just called it that. But we were a little church group. We were a little gospel group, and it was my dad and Brother Ed, who was a deacon in the church. Brother Ed had two sons, Andy and Chris, and a brother named Felix. We would all bring our families and get together and have dinner, and after dinner we'd start breaking out the guitars and playing music. And it was a really it's one of my favorite memories ever from growing up, where it was the times we would do that. Wasn't long, I'm grabbing a guitar and trying to learn how to play chords, and watching these guys, it is really how I got my start.
Well, and the fact that they're still at it and showing up for birthday party gigs, that's pretty cool, Jamey.
It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to get to connect the Opry with some real down home country pickers and grinners.
Jamey, this would have been in Montgomery that you grew up listening to these guys, right? I mean, you were born in Enterprise, Alabama, but grew up in Montgomery.
So I was born in Enterprise, but we never lived in Enterprise. We lived on the part of Troy that was kind of leading off in that direction. But my dad didn't care for the doctor in Troy at the time, and so he drove to Enterprise when my older sister and I were born. She was born in August 73, and I was born in July 75. So Daddy had a 68 Firebird, and I got to be born in a hospital. I don't complain. We lived in Troy when I was born. We moved to Montgomery when I was 3 years old, and I lived up until 99 or so.
Well, I'm in Birmingham right now, so that's just right down the road from us. My mom was actually born in Montgomery, so I got
Mine
family
was born in
there.
Birmingham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so tell me a little bit about the house and the neighborhood that you grew up in.
The house was a trailer, and at first it sat on the end of some land that was being developed, and so they had all these brush piles that they had set fire to, and that's right about the time we moved to Montgomery. I just remember the sight of fires burning at night. And they weren't that far away. I mean, we got a trailer sitting over here, and there's several fires just right over there, 10 acres away. And then we moved from there to a different spot on Patterson Road in Montgomery. And that's where we met a lot of people from the church that lived in that same area. I think I was maybe 9 or 10. And we moved way out in the country, down Woodley Road, almost out to Raymer. We lived in a double wide there. We were a growing family and already had 4 kids. And so we got a double wide trailer and moved it onto 5 acres and lived there till I was about 14.
And you grew up in a real musical house. It sounds like, I mean, from
everybody in my house played or sang or did something, everybody contributed in some way.
So Jamey, you've got a pretty remarkable voice. I mean, it's a beautiful voice. It's a very distinct voice. I feel like it's one that people can recognize a mile away. And I'm just wondering if
Alison Krauss said it sounded like a foghorn.
Okay, well that's one way to put it, but a really nice sounding foghorn. But I'm wondering if you share that with anyone in your family. Are there other people that sound like you?
My dad is still a way more powerful singer than I am, and he told me, he said, you never heard anything till you heard your pawpaw sing. And I never did. I never
Really?
heard him sing, but evidently my grandfather was a great singer. So I just remember Pawpaw's voice. He makes me sound like a tenor. He had a deep, very deep, loud, rumbling kind of voice. Sort of like Trace Atkins or Johnny Cash. He had the kind of voice that he could cough and nearly knock the windows out of the house. You know, I could hear him thinking across the room. All he'd have to do is go,
and you kind of feel it in your chest.
Yeah, as if a whale had just yelled something out into the water. You felt the frequency of it.
But you never heard your grandfather, you never heard his singing voice.
I never heard him sing. And I got to sing for him, though. I got to sit and play Randy Travis. I thought he walked on water for him.
Really? Oh.
One day. And after he passed away, he told me, Ma, well, not after, before he passed away, he told me, Ma, he wanted me to sing that at his funeral. So I had to try and sing that song to the rest of the family. It was almost impossible.
What was your grandfather's name?
Howard Johnson.
Howard Johnson. Okay.
The original Hojo.
Yeah.
My dad is Howard Ronald Johnson, so he goes by Hojo today.
Well, Jamey, I always like to talk about food on this podcast, and I'm wondering, when you think about kind of a typical night at home or a weekend at home, who was doing the cooking and what was on the table?
I guess in our house, it's both of us do the cooking. We just kind of take different chores, but there's so many times where I get to come home and she's been cooking while I was gone, and I just kind of walk into a little paradise. It's Brittany is
you're
from
talking about Brittany.
Yeah, she's from the Gulf Coast, and seafood is king down there. So I get the best gumbos and etouffees and jambalayas. I get all the best stuff, the best shrimp boils, and I never know what to expect. I'll come home and it just smells. It smells great.
Sounds like you chose well for lots of reasons.
I try to do my share too. Oh, I put a couple of Boston butts on a pellet grill the other day and just let that cook for about 16 hours or so. It was, I think it probably took about 12. I think I put them on at 8:30 at night and pulled them off at 8:30 in the morning.
Well, some things are worth the wait.
Yeah.
Well, did you grow up in a family of cooks?
Oh, yeah, I did. We all learned how to cook. And it wasn't just out of self-preservation. It was, it was knowing that if you do it right, you can absolutely feed yourself and an army forever. You just have to know what to do. But my dad was always a good cook. My mother was excellent cook. And they made all kinds of things. I guess that was one of the privileges of my education growing up, was getting to watch them and learn how they do what they do.
Did you have a bunch of family around Montgomery? Extended family, cousins and that sort of thing?
I had cousins in Columbus, Georgia. We had some in Birmingham on my mom's side. Out in the country, it's almost like everybody out there is related in one way or another. Even if we didn't have a lot of family out there where we were, we had friends that were as close as family. In fact, my dad's friend Barry, I grew up knowing him as Uncle Barry and Aunt Carolyn. And still, to this day, she's still my aunt, just from proximity.
Not
But,
a blood thing, just
well,
she was down the
yeah,
road.
but in that way, it's stronger than
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah.
That's the family you choose.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of nieces and nephews today that know me as Uncle Jamey, that we're not blood kin either, but we know what's up. We know what it is.
Jamey, you mentioned your dad playing in the church, and his kind of church band, and I'm wondering what that would have looked like. I mean, is this a big church, a small kind of country church? What did it look and feel like in there?
When I was little, it seemed like everybody in the world. It just seemed like the whole town must be here today. Looking back on it from this perspective, I can't really see it any differently. But when I go back and visit the buildings, they don't look as big to me as they did when I was little. So maybe a congregation that I thought had millions and millions of people in it was probably about 1,000 people. It was just the same number in my mind growing up. And I guess even for Montgomery, it was one of the bigger congregations. And it was just a bunch of people just like us. We didn't have anybody in the whole fold we could hoist on our shoulders and brag about. So, but it was our little community, so we took care of each other, and a lot of the time we spent together was spent in pure joy, pure happiness. I remember dinners on the ground, and, potluck suppers and movie night, and, so many different things. And it was a great congregation, and a lot of those people still worship together today.
And a real center of kind of social life.
Mm-hmm. Was for a lot of people, especially us.
Jamey, you went on to the Marine Corps for a while. Thank you for your service.
Oh, man. Thank you. I'm proud I could do something, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
I'm wondering if you could take me kind of back to the decision to do that. Where were you in your life at that point, and what made you feel like this is my path, and this is what I'm going to do, and why you wanted to do that at that point?
Oh, well, that decision was made a long time ago. From the time I was little, and I don't know where I got the idea from, but I always knew I was going to be a Marine. I always knew it. There was no question. I guess after I'd spent 1.5 years or so in college, I was kind of already done with the, chasing the things you got to do to keep a scholarship. It seemed like a little bit of pressure on me at the time because I didn't have a whole lot of time. When I wasn't in classes, I was taking a full load, and I also was holding a full-time job. Otherwise, I couldn't afford the rent and the groceries and everything else. So the things that were requiring more and more of my time when I wasn't working were starting to weigh me down too much. So it was also just time. If I was going to go to Parris Island, it was time to do it while I was still young. And I did. I left, I think I was 19 in December 94 when I signed up. I remember I turned 20 at the School of Infantry that summer in 95. I had an opportunity at one point to join the Marine Corps band, and I didn't because I didn't want to be a Marine in the band. That wasn't the calling as far as I understood it, and so I joined the infantry. But I joined in the reserves, and the reason I did that was I kind of had this idea that I'd get the GI Bill and go back to school and at least have a little money to help me pay for things. And of course, I didn't end up going back to school immediately. I think I did a semester or two at AUM in Montgomery and learned a little bit about business and, studied English and that sort of thing. I'm so glad I got to go and serve with the men that I got to serve with. There still a lot of us get together today. We keep up with each other. We support each other wherever we can. They're some of the best men I know. A lot of them still come to my shows when they can. We get to visit from time to time.
When you think about all of the people you met during that time, was there one person who kind of made an outsized impression on you? Could have been a fellow Marine, or could have been someone you reported to.
I'll tell you some of the greatest Marines I served with. One was Charles Wells. Charles and I went to Jeff Davis High School in Montgomery together. I think he might have graduated a couple of years before I did. He was one of the seniors when I first got there, and I remember one day that this was probably around 1990 or so. I think I was in 10th grade, and Charles was a senior, and he and I got into a contest over sit-ups and pull-ups, and it was one of the worst decisions of my life. Not only was he fast running around the track, but that guy could do like 120 sit-ups in 2 minutes. I mean, wouldn't blink an eye about it. It just wasn't as much labor on him as it was for me. I remember we got on the pull-up bar. I thought I was, top of the class because I could knock out 20, relatively quick.
That's pretty good.
Charles Wells did 40 in the time I did 20. I was like, man, I'm done with this. Later on, he served in the same unit as me in Montgomery. He lost his life to a anti-tank mine in Iraq. It's guys like him, that ever so often the rest of us have to get together and have a memorial service for him. That's way too young.
Yeah.
Men like that deserve to live forever, and instead they don't get to. So we kind of have to live for them, Charles Wells, there was Corporal Daltrey. Of course, I think he probably got sergeant or something later on. But Blevins, these are all Marines that I served with that, we've had to have funerals for them. So it's kind of why I wrote 21 Guns.
Yeah.
It was getting to be a common thing for us, and I didn't want it to get to be a common thing.
Jamey, when you sat down and wrote that song, where were you at that moment? Had you been out of the Marines, I'm guessing, for a while, or where were you kind of in your career when you wrote that?
It was just a few years ago. Moose and I, his name is James Brown, or Jim Brown. Well, we call him Moose. Moose and I got together to ride motorcycles one day, and while we were at my studio, we took the time to break out a guitar, and I shared with him that title, and we sat down and wrote that song. It just didn't seem like it was very long at all that it took, but he understood where I was coming from because his dad was a Marine. And so the song really comes from an honest place for both of us. There's
a song that you wrote, it's been a while now. It was on your second record, That Lonesome Song. It was called In Color, and it won Song of the Year, I think, at the ACMs and the CMAs, and it's about one generation kind of talking to another one, and it's about some really hard things and hard times, and it has this timeless quality to it. I went back and was listening to it, and it seems like it could have been written yesterday, which I think I think the best songs are that way. But I was wondering if there was someone specific that you were thinking about when you wrote that, or when you sing that song.
There's 3 songwriters on that song. Lee Thomas Miller and James Otto are my 2 co-writers. And when we wrote the song, all of us were sharing stories about our grandfathers and what this one did and that one did. It wasn't just about military, and it wasn't just about anything in particular or depression or anything else. It was just about that generation. Guys my age, we get together and talk about our grandparents, and most of the time we feel like we're talking about the same people. They were a tough breed, man.
Yeah.
we come from good stock. They knew how to work. They knew how to live. They knew how to celebrate. I think Tom Brokaw was right when he called them the greatest generation. I don't see how any generation is ever going to be tested and hold up the way that they were and have been. So, but back to the song, we were each kind of writing from our own perspective. The third verse of In Color, I have a picture that sits on the mantle in my house of my grandparents at their on their wedding day, and that's the third verse of In Color right there. So yeah, I see that picture every night when I sing that song.
Well, it's a great song, and it feels very appropriate. I think always, but it really feels appropriate these days. When we're living in a very troubled time, and to kind of look back at the strength of those that came before us and the things that they endured.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Jamey. I want to ask you about a couple things you've had going on recently. I saw you did a cover of one of my favorite songs, "Angel from Montgomery," the great John Prine song, and you did it with Megan Maroney at the Grand Ole Opry. And I'm just wondering how y'all connected and what that experience was like.
I told you about that extended family I've got in town, and how one of those guys that for me is like a brother is Rob Hatch. And his wife, Shannon, was the one that suggested I give Megan a listen. Shannon's friend, Julie Griffith, which we go back a long time, probably 20, 25 years, something like that. She is managing Megan, and at the same time, I was looking for female artists to take on tour. We had these shows we were doing with Blackberry Smoke, and so we ended up taking Ella Langley for several of those shows, and we got Megan to do several of them too. And so that was a that was a red letter tour for me, man. We got a Ella Langley show, and Megan Maroney, and Blackberry Smoke every night before we even went on. It was a great deal all around. But Megan's writing was the first thing that stood out to me. And she's going to kick me in the shins for this, but the song is about the beauty shop, and it might not be called that, but it's a song she wrote about the gossip going on at the beauty shop. And I thought, man, that she can really write. This is incredibly creative, and her voice is just perfect for this sort of thing. She's really got a wonderful songwriter voice, and I think that's what hopefully the audience sees the same thing that I do. But yeah, so we were doing that song on that tour. Angel from Montgomery.
Well, does that one have any special meaning for you, just being a Montgomery guy?
It doesn't make me think about Montgomery at all. It just makes me think of John Prine. And yeah, that feels good, you know. Makes me think of Bonnie Raitt.
Well, and you know how old he was when he wrote that song?
No.
22.
Yeah. Wow. That's strong.
It's really something to think that someone that age could channel I am an old woman named after my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's had a tough life. That's special.
He was a remarkable writer.
Jamey, I saw that you are also going to be in a movie with Megan now too.
I don't know the title of the movie, but it's got something to do with an Opry Christmas or something like that.
I think it's called A Grand Ole Opry Christmas.
Good. Grand Ole Opry Christmas. So yeah, I'm in a scene or two with Megan and one of the other stars of that film. So it was fun.
What was the highlight of working on that? I mean, was there a moment that kind of stands out, or maybe something funny that happened behind the scenes?
Just running into different artists. Mickey Guyton was in there, and Whispering Bill Anderson, and some other ones. So it was a fun day. It was a I don't know. It was a fun experience seeing everybody pulling together like a team and, you know, making it happen.
Well, you've got your first Christmas coming up with Brittany. Who's the bigger Christmas fan in your family? Who's the person that gets the most excited about it?
She is definitely the bigger fan of Christmas. I mean, it ain't even Halloween yet, and she's already got Christmas stuff in the works. So I know the house is about to be transformed into Santa land over here. We also have a Jesse James Decker and I are doing some Christmas songs this year. So be looking for that. I don't know if everybody sees the same. I just don't see it. Everybody says I look like Santa Claus now. So I just don't. I don't get it.
Well, you know, Jamey, you've got the beard for it, and I got to say, if this music thing doesn't work out for you, there's probably opportunities at Macy's or somewhere. Yeah,
go be a mall Santa. I'm probably one of them guys. I ought to make that movie with Billy Bob Thornton, that Bad Santa. Maybe
they'll come around and do another one. Well, you've got a lot going on, Jamey. You've also got a brand new song out with Ronnie Dunn called "Never Gonna Be," which I just heard today, and kind of talks about Nashville and how Nashville can kind of chew you up and spit you out. Tell me about your connection to Ronnie and how this came together.
So I did a few shows opening for Brooks and Dunn when I first came out of the gate, and I've always admired them, looked up to them, and respected them, both of them. And it was probably the end of 2009 or so when Ronnie wrote this song. From his perspective, I was still the new guy in town. And so he started off this song with "New Kid in Town is a Stoner." I guess that would be how everybody would describe my entry into country music, I guess. Well, he sent me the song in like January 2010, and I didn't make a record again for 14 years. And so we got together, and I found that song on an old email that I still had from back then, and I sent it to Buddy Cannon and said, "Can we record this?" He said, "This is great. Did you write it?" I said, "No, Ronnie Dunn wrote it." Well, he emailed it to Ronnie, and Ronnie at first sent back, "I don't remember that." So I had to send him the emails and go, yeah, this is from you, right? Oh yeah, I remember that. So, yeah, that's how it all came to be. But we're going to do the Tootsie's birthday bash. Ronnie's going to drop in and do that song with me there.
Oh, that's great. That'll be great.
But Lower Broadway is a perfect place to put that out, especially to do the first live performance of it. So it's that's where everybody's down there trying to make it happen every night, you know.
Well, that'll be a big night for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, we hadn't talked about your new album that came out last fall, Midnight Gasoline, which was your first one in 14 years. I know you're still out there playing those songs, getting people, getting your fans introduced to a lot of those songs. Is there one particular song on that record that you've enjoyed playing live more than others?
They're all fun to do live for different reasons, but we do Midnight Gasoline a lot. We do Sober a lot, Bad Guy, Someday When I'm Old.
Yeah.
What You Answer To. We give them all a good amount of play here and there.
I especially love Sober.
Sober came to be. I was sitting with James Slater. He's the same guy I wrote High Cost of Living with. And we were thinking about the logical conclusion of that same narrative. And Sober was the one that stood out. You know, wrote that song in probably 2 or 3 different days where we got together. We kind of laid it all out in an outline form, and then finished it from there. But I'm proud of the way that it turned out. Really good. So, and James is still one of the best songwriters in town for my money. He's so good. You never know what to expect.
Well, that's a great one. I think that one's gonna stand the test of time. I really do. Well, Jamey, you and Brittany started a fund called the Give It Away Fund, which is a reference to another song of yours, to support some charities that are important to you. And I'm just wondering if you can tell me a little bit about that work and what y'all are focused on these days.
Give It Away Fund is so that we can support the different charities that we see doing good work that we want to get behind, you know, whether it was the floods in eastern Kentucky a few years ago, or the floods in Maggie Valley and the rest of the Great Smokies, or the recent flooding out in West Texas.
It's been disaster oriented.
Well, I don't want to point it right at disasters, because we also do plenty of other things. I mean, we'll support small, local charity events and that sort of thing with it too. So, but it's a way for us to give back and a way for our fan base to join us in doing that.
Jamey, I've just got one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you to be Southern?
Well, I like how George Carlin put it. Pride is not a virtue. That it's not okay to be proud to be Italian or proud to be Irish or whatever. You can say I'm happy to be, but you just happen to be, you know. So I happen to be Southern, and I'm happy to be Southern. To me, is a way of life that is the only perspective that I have. So I can't say whether it's better or worse than anybody else's, but I do love the way that I grew up, and if that's Southern, I embrace it and I love it. It makes me feel good every day.
Well, Jamey Johnson, it's been great talking to you, and I appreciate the time, and thanks so much for being on Biscuits and Jam.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.